Hello, grade 8s. I hope you're doing well. Today we'll be covering a lesson on decimal fractions. So we've had a look at common fractions, very important topic, and I hope that you know how to do it. If you don't know how to deal with common fractions, please do refer to our video that we have previously published or posted rather. So when it comes to decimal fractions, or rather, let me go back to common fractions. You need that skill to deal with common fractions all the way to metric and beyond. I know there's technology that's improving. Some of you are asking, why should we even bother? Just in case technology fails, then at least you have your brain to help you out. So with common fractions, we dealt with how to add them, how to subtract them, how to multiply them, and how to divide them. And that's what we're going to do as well in today's lesson with decimal fractions. So then, let's say for example, we have a number, okay? It is 145, 2, 3, 4, 5. So let's say now we want to order this decimal fraction. How do we order it? How do we basically account for each number in this decimal fraction? How would we describe what that number is? Okay, so basically when it comes to the hundreds, we have 100 over there, so it's just going to be 1. When it comes to tens, it will be 40. When it comes to units, that's 5. Then we have our decimal comma, and then our tenths with the TH, that's 2. Our hundredths, oh my gosh, I forgot an R there. Hundredths, my goodness, what was I writing? Let me rewrite that because, geez, hundredths. There we go. So with the hundreds, we have 3. Our thousands, we have 4. And 10,000s. With the TH there, that would be the 5. That is how we basically order a decimal fraction. Now, the nice thing about decimal fractions is we could always convert them to common fractions. And what do I mean by that? So let's just take the very same number, 145, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, what I would do then, I look at where the decimal comma is. And then I want to take it to the end, to the far right. Okay, so basically, how many spaces would I have to take it? So it'll be 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, since I'm moving 4 spaces to the right, I basically multiplied by 10,000 because 10,000 has 4 zeros. And when I multiply it by 10,000, I will then get 140. Oh, okay, no, probably not going to be 145, but it would be 3, 6. It'll be 1 million. Let's write that again. So it's going to be 1,420,000, or rather 450, 2,345. Okay, and we're simply going to divide that by 10,000. I'm multiplying by 10,000 only to write it as 10,000 again. All right, so that's one of the ways that you can write it as a common factor. Or what you could have done as well, you could have said, we're leaving this 145 out, okay? And we're going to deal with the comma or point 2345. So again, still, if you have 145, leaving it right there, and you have a 0.02345, again, you can also multiply that by 10,000 because we still need to move 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces to the right. Okay, so if we multiply that by 10,000, we're also going to divide it by 10,000. Okay, so basically then we can write our common fraction as 145. Then we have that 2,345 divided by 10,000. Okay, so those are the two ways in which you can write it as common fractions. But anyway, we're not dealing with common fractions right now. I was just showing you that you can write a decimal fraction as a common fraction. Okay, depending on what you have. So maybe let's just do a few other examples of how to convert decimal fractions to common fractions. So if you had 0.44, you see where the comma is, the decimal comma, we take it 1, 2. So basically we're going to then have 44 because we're going to multiply it by 100, because we have 2 zeros there. Maybe let me take it like this. So basically we're going to multiply it by 100 and then we're going to get what? We're going to get 44. But when we write it as a fraction, we're basically going to say 0.44 is equivalent to 44 over 100. Okay, let's do another example. If maybe you have 0.001, how many spaces do we need to take it? So it's going to be 1, 2, 3 spaces. So we're going to multiply it by 1 with 3 zeros, which is 1,000. And therefore you're going to have 1, right? Therefore 0.001 can be rewritten as what? 1 over 1,000. Okay, so that's how you can convert decimal fractions to common fractions. Now, if ever you're given a decimal fraction, okay, and they ask you to round off this decimal fraction, I know some of you are waiting for the multiplication and division of these decimal fractions, but we're getting there. We're getting there. So let's say we need to round off a decimal fraction, okay? Sometimes they will instruct you to round off to 2 decimal places or round off to 3 decimal places. Just look at the instruction and do it accordingly. All right. Sorry for the background noise, or maybe you can't hear anything. It's just me. All right, so let's just say we have a number which is 42,785, okay? And then I have 42,783. And then I ask you to round off to 2 decimal places, okay? So basically round off these numbers to 2 decimal places. All right, this is A, that's B. If I'm rounding off to 2 decimal places, I'll basically have my 42,7 and then another number there. Okay, it means then after the common, after the decimal comma, I need to have 2 numbers. All right, so basically this is my focus. Now the number that comes after the 8 will tell you it will tell you if you need to leave the 8 as it is or if you need to then take it up to 9. All right, we basically always round up or we leave it as it is. So what will then tell us if we're going to leave it as 8 or round it up to 9? Basically, if that number after 8, in this case, after the 2 decimal numbers, after the decimal comma, if it is 5 and higher, then you need to take it up 1 number. Okay, in this case, we have 8, so we'll have to take it up to 9. But if that number is less than 5, then you leave 8 as it is in this case. So what will then be our answer? If we have 42,785, that 5, like I said, it has to be 5 or higher. Then the 8 has to change to a 9. So therefore, we're going to have 42,79. And then for B, because the number is 3 is less than 5. So we're basically going to leave 42,78 as it is. Okay, I hope you get it. Now, if we were to round off a number to 1 decimal place, so let's just say round off to 1 decimal place. And what is our number? Basically, we have 0,0635. Okay, 1 decimal place means after the decimal comma, I'm basically interested. This is what I'm going to limit my number to because it's only 1 decimal place. Okay, then I look at the number next to that 0. Is that number 5 or higher? Yes, it is. We have 6. So it means I'm going to go one number up. Okay. From 0, I'm going to go to 1. So basically, that is the answer, 0, 1. All right. Now let's just say I need to round off to 3 decimal places. We're going to use the same number. So round off to 3 decimal places. Okay. So again, I have 0, 0, 6, 3, 5. So if it's 3 decimal places, I'm going to look at the decimal comma and count 1, 2, 3. So basically, I need to look at the number next to 3. Is it 5 or higher? Yes, it is. So basically, we're going to then write 0, 0, 6, 4. Okay, so we have 3 numbers after the decimal comma, hence 3 decimal places. All right, I hope you understand that and you get it. All right, so what have we done so far? We have converted a decimal fraction to a common fraction, and we have also talked about rounding off. Now we can get to the addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division of decimal fractions. So let's start with the addition. Addition of decimal fractions. Okay, how are we going to do that? To be honest, they are sort of straightforward, but let's just do examples. We're going to go straight to examples. So let's just say we have 12, 5 or 4, 5, 3, and we're adding it to 0, 2, 1, 8. So in this case, at least we have numbers that are to 3 decimal places, all right? Tenths, hundreds, all the way to the thousands if we were to classify them. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, I'm going to rewrite it in this way. Okay, so I'm going to write it as 12, 4, 5, 3, and then add it with 0, 2, 1, 8. I have to make sure that these are aligned properly so that I can add. And then when we add, we start adding from the right and we're going all the way to the left. So what do I mean? I'm going to start adding 3 and 8, which is 11, and then we carry 1. I hope you remember all of that. And then we're going to take the 5 plus 1, which is 6, and we're going to add with that number that we carried. Okay, so it's basically going to be 7. Then 4 plus 2, that is 6. And then 12 plus 0, that is just 12. So that is basically our answer, 12, 671. Okay, straightforward enough, right? Now let's just say you had numbers that were not both maybe to the same decimal. So one would be rounded off to 2 decimal places, the other 3 decimal places. And how do we deal with that? So let's look at that number. So let's say we have 168, 407, and we are adding it with 41, 23. Okay, so again, we're going to write it out. We have hundreds, tens, and units, tenths, hundreds, thousands. All right, so there we go, tens and units, and then we have tenths as well as thousands. Okay, and if maybe you can't see it, there's basically a 0 there. We don't really need to put it, but basically that's what it is. Now if we're going to add the 2, so I'm going to take 7 plus that 0. Okay, it's just going to be 7. And then 0 plus 3, that's going to be 3. 4 plus 2, that will be 6. All right, and then we have a comma there. The 8 and the 1, they become 9. 6 and 4 is 10, and we carry the 1. And then we just have 2. So 1 plus 1, which is 2. So basically our answer is 209,637. So that's basically how you deal with the addition of decimal fractions. What about the subtraction? Okay, subtraction of decimal fractions. We're basically going to work at it similar to the addition, all right, of decimal fractions. And basically, we'll then look at a few examples. 2 or 3, that should do it. Okay, so let's say we now have 32, 4, 2, 3, and we are subtracting 13, 1. Okay, we're going to write it as I've shown you, like we did with addition. So we're going to have there our tens, our units, 4, 2, 3. Write it out in a spaced manner so that you can see what's going on. And then we have 13, 1. If you want to, you can put zeros there. Okay, it's really up to you. You don't have to. Okay, so now we have 3 minus 0. What is that? That's just simply going to be 3. And then 2 minus 0 is just going to be 2. 4 minus 1, that's going to be 3. Okay, now 2 minus 3, you know that we need to just borrow 1 from this 3 here. So we're going to have 12 minus 3. Okay, so that's 9. Now when we borrowed the 1, we were left with 2. Now we're going to say 2 minus 1, and that's basically 19. Okay, I hope that you recognize this is like primary school work. So please piggyback off this moment. This is a time to shine and get those full marks. All right. So now if we get to B, let's look at an example. Let's say we have 99, 8, and we are subtracting 42, 333. All right. So yeah, let us write the 99, 8, and we are subtracting 42, 333. If you like, you can put the zeros there. Okay, it's not going to change the number. It's basically 99, 8. If you put the zeros after the 8, it really doesn't make a difference. Okay, it's not like you're saying 99,800. No, it's simply 99, 8. No matter how many zeros you put after the 8, it's still 99, 8. All right, so now we're going to say 0 minus 3. We cannot just say 0, so we need to go borrow from the next. Now you see there's a 0 as well, okay? Now we need to go borrow from the 8. Okay, so if we borrow from the 8, we're basically going to have 7 over there. And here we're borrowing 1, so we have 10. Okay, and now we're like, okay, no, we have 10. That 1 over there, we still need something over here, so we just need to go borrow again. All right, so if we're now going to have the 10 there, we're actually now left with 9 over here. We're not left with 10 anymore. So just to repeat, let's just start a little bit again so that I'm not confusing you. Basically, 0 minus 3 is not allowed here. So we go over to the next 0. But I can't borrow anything because there's nothing. So then I go to this 8. Okay, so I borrow 1 from the 8. I'm left with 7. Now I have 10 over here. Okay, but that doesn't help us with the 0 here. So I need to go borrow 1 from that 10 so that I can have 10 over here. And then I'll be left with 9 over there. So 10 minus 3 becomes 7. 9 minus 3 becomes 6. And 7 minus 3 becomes 4. All right. 9 minus 2, 7. And 9 minus 4 is 5. So basically that's how you deal with having to borrow and borrow and borrow. All right. So yeah, I think that's basically it when it comes to the addition and subtraction of decimal fractions. Now what about the multiplication of decimal fractions? Okay, let's see. So there are various ways of doing it. I'm going to focus on showing you one way. All right, and I hope that that one way is actually simple. It's a simple way for you. All right, so multiplication of decimal fractions. So what do we do there when we multiply them? Addition and subtraction is not so bad. Like I said, it's like a revision of what you did in primary school. So let's see how we deal with the multiplication of decimal fractions. So let's start with the simple one. Let's say we have 0,2 multiplied by 0,04. Some people, like I said, there are many ways to skin this cat. Some people might rewrite the decimals into common fractions. So now you have 2 over 10 multiplied by 4 over 100. Yeah, maybe I should do that alternative as well. But let me just show you my simple hack of multiplying decimal fractions. So what I do when I have 0,2 and I multiply it by 0,04, I will take the actual number. I'm not going to consider the zeros for now. So I'm going to consider the 2 and the 4. All right, I'm going to multiply the 2 and the 4, and then I get 8. So that's the first step. Then the second step, I'm going to count, all right, from each number. So 0,2, after the decimal comma, how many places are there? Okay, so after this decimal comma, there's only one place. So I'm just going to say 1. And then after the decimal comma here, there are 2 places. So I'm basically going to add with 2. And then I have 3. Okay, so why is that significant? Basically, this tells me then if I have my 8, if I've written the 8 over here, I'm assuming that the comma is on this side, the decimal comma. This 3 tells me that I need to then take the decimal comma to the left. So I'm just going to add a bunch of zeros. I don't know how many I need, but I'm just going to add zeros there. So if I have the decimal comma at the end, I can then say 1, 2, 3. Okay, so basically then my answer becomes 0, 008. Okay, that is my final answer. That is how I work multiplication of decimal fractions. Okay, that's how I work them out. I have 0,2 multiplied by 0,04. I'm going to take the numbers as they are, multiply them together, I get 8. Okay, then I see after the decimal comma, how many spaces do I move? How many places do I move to the right? Okay, and then I know how to shift my decimal comma to finally get my answer. Another way that I wanted to show you was, what if we write these decimal fractions as common fractions? 0,2, we only have one number after the decimal comma, so it means I'm going to take that 2 and I'm going to divide by 10. Okay, as you can see, I have 1 0. And I'm multiplying by 4 over 100. Okay, because I have 2 numbers after the decimal comma. So it means I have 100, 1 with 2 zeros. So how do I multiply common fractions? Remember how we deal with that? Basically, you just multiply the numerators together. That's 2 times 4, that's 8. And we're going to multiply the denominators. So 10 times 100 will be 1,000. Okay, and you can either leave the number like the answer like that, 8 over 1,000, or you can say 8 over 1,000 is actually, you see I have 3 zeros, so 1, 2, 3, and I put the 8 there. Okay, so basically it's 0,008. Okay, let's try another example. So let's just stick to simpler examples. So I have 3,7 and I multiply by 8,5, or maybe 8,35. Okay, so here it gets a little bit tricky because remember here the first example I had 0,8 multiplied by 0,04, so I only multiplied the numbers together, which is 2 and 4, not considering the zeros. So here, my first step, I'm going to have to consider the numbers themselves, which is 37 multiplied by 835. My goodness, you might ask yourself, how am I gonna determine that? Well, unfortunately for you, you're gonna have to now do that long multiplication thingy that you used to do in primary school. So there are various ways of doing it. I'm just going to show you how we did it back in the day. I think you would probably be taught how to just multiply the 800 by 7, and then the 30 by 7, and then the 5 by 7, and then add all of them up. I'm going to do it differently. Okay, firstly, I'm going to multiply 835 by 7. So 5 times 7, that is 35. Remember, we're not using calculators here. Okay, 3 times 7, that's 21. 21 plus 3 is basically 24. Then we carry the 2. 8 times 7. Oh, now that's where you can check, do you know your multiplication? So 8 times 7, I think that should be 56, no? So we're going to write the 6 there. Oh, actually just put it as, before I even get there. 8 times 7 is 56. Then I need to add the 2. So that's going to be 58. All right. So basically, if I have 835 multiplied by 7, it's 5,845. Then before we deal with the 3, we need to put the 0 there, right? Because we're multiplying all of this by 30, not just 3. So that's why I put the 0. Now 5 times 3 is 15. Let's just remove all of this there. So basically 5 times 3 is 15, and we carry the 1. 3 times 3 is 9, plus the 1 it's 10. We're going to carry the 1 again. 8 times 3 is 24, and then plus that 1, we're basically going to have 25. Okay, so basically 835 multiplied by 30 is going to be equal to 25,050. Now when we're done there, we're going to have to add all of this up. So 5 and 0, you see we have 5. 4 plus 5, it's 9. 8 plus 0 is 8. 5 plus 5 is 10, carry 1. And then 1 plus 2, that's going to be 3. Okay, so ultimately if you have 835 multiplied by 37, you'll get 30,895. So that is our answer, 30,895. Now, that's the first thing that we did, right? We're multiplying the numbers themselves. And then secondly, what are we doing? We're going to consider then, after the decimal comma, how many spaces did we move? So here we have 1 place, and there we have 2 places. Okay, so basically, it will be 3 places. So ultimately then, our answer, if we say 3,7 multiplied by 8,35, we're gonna write down our 30,895, assuming that the comma is here at the end, and then we are taking it 3 places to the left. So 1, 2, 3. So basically our final answer is 30,895. Okay, that is our answer. All right, I hope that was simple enough. So while I was tutoring one of my students, I told her, please do a sanity check. What is a sanity check? A sanity check is if I were to just at the top of my head guess in what range my answer should be in, does my final answer actually make sense? So a sanity check here, I would take the 3,7 and round it up to 4. And I would take the 8,35 and round it up to 8. And then I would just multiply and just check what is 4 times 8. That's actually 32. So that's my answer of 30,895. Does it make sense? Yes, it actually does make sense. Okay, I know I'm expecting a number around the 30s. All right. And I implore you, and really, if you have time, to do a sanity check, because sometimes when you are assigning where the decimal comma should go, you might make a mistake and put the comma maybe here and say you're going to get 3,0895, and that does not make sense because you have 3,7 multiplied by 8,35, so you can't get a number like 3,0895. Or some might put the decimal comma here and you get 308,95. So looking at the numbers that you have, you're like, no man, if I take 3 and I multiply it by 8, I'm going to get by my 24. So I cannot be getting a number like 308. Okay, so that is what I mean by doing a sanity check. You could have also done that on the first examples. Example A, 0, 2 times 0, 0.04. You're taking a small number, 0, 2, multiplying it by a very small number. So you're expecting your answer to ultimately be a very, very small number. Okay, let's just do another example. All right. Let me just check what can I do. Let's make it a little bit challenging. Okay, and yeah, take it from there. So let's just say this example number 3, and then we're going to basically have 25 458, and we're going to multiply it by 0, 1, 2. Okay guys, that's going to be a hectic number, because our first step, what did we say? We're going to take the number as it is, 25,458, and I'm going to multiply it by 12 because I don't really consider the 0, 1, 2. Sorry, by the way, before we even go forward, would you like for me to do an example of 3,7 times 8,35 using common fractions? Okay, maybe let's do that a little bit later since I've already moved on. So now we're going to have 25,458 multiplied by 12. Sure, okay, that's going to take a bit of a while. But anyway, let's do it. Okay, let us just get to it. Put our big girl and big boy pants on and just multiply away. So first going to multiply by 2. So what is 8 times 2? That's basically 16. And then 5 times 2 is 10, plus the 1, that's 11. I'm going to carry the 1 over. 4 times 2, that is 8, plus 1, that is 9. 5 times 2, that's basically 10. Carry the 1. 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1, that's basically 5. Okay, so basically 25,458 times 2 will give us 50,916. Okay, now we're going to add, remember we're going to take the 25,458 and multiply by 10. So we need to put a 0 there. So 8 times 1, that will just be 8. 5 times 1, that is 5. 4 times 1, that's 4. And 5 times 1, that is 5. 2 times 1, that is just 2. Okay, now we're going to add everything up. 6 plus 0, that's 6. 1 plus 8 is 9. 9 plus 5 is 14. Carry 1. 0 plus 4 is 4 plus 1, that's 5. 5 plus 5 is 10. Carry 1. And then 2 plus 1, that will be 3. All right, so we basically have 305,496. Okay, that is our final answer. Whew, my goodness. So basically, 25,458 multiplied by 12 is 305,496. Now, let's go look. After the decimal comma, how many places do we have there? We have 3. So we're going to take the 3. And then here we have 2 places. So basically 5 is the answer of the places in total. So now let's take our final answer. So we know that 25,458 multiplied by 0, 1, 2, that is basically equal to, we're going to confirm now what it's equal to. Remember, we assuming that our comma is there at the end. We're going to move 5 places to the left. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wow, so our final answer is 3,05496. Now you're like, what? Such a small number? Yeah, let's do a sanity check. Okay, maybe let me just leave those, not remove them. Let's do a sanity check then. If I have 25, all right, 25, and I multiply, let's just call it there, it's a sanity check. So if I have 25 and I multiply by 0, 1, basically my answer will be 2, 5. 2, 5, is it close to 3? Most definitely. So I am confident that my answer is 3,05496 and not 30,5496, or it's not going to be 305,496. All right, that's how we do sanity check. So yeah, so if I have 3,7, I said I'll do the common fraction way. Okay, maybe let me just try to do it over here if I have some space. So 3,7, that's just going to be 37 over 100. Or no, 37 over 10, not 100. Remember, we only moved one place, so it's 1 with 1 0. So 37 over 10, and then I'm multiplying it by 835. I'm moving 1 2, so 835 over 100. Okay, over 100. So now I know my denominator, I'm gonna have 1000 because 10 times 100 is 1000, and on top the 3,7, or rather 37 times 835. At least we did it. At least we did it. So we can say 30,895. So if I take 30,895 and I divide it by 1,000, okay, so I'm going to move 1 2 3. My final answer will then be 30,895. All right. Yeah, I hope that makes sense. Ooh, I forgot to fix it there. Now you're going to say that is incorrect. We're moving 3 places, so it's 30,895. All right, so the common fraction one, it is similar. I feel like they're similar because we had to ultimately multiply the long way. Unfortunately, it's something that you cannot really run away from. You have to multiply the long way. All right, and now let's go over to the division of or dividing decimal fractions. Okay, and unfortunately there as well. Oh guys, you remember long division? Unfortunately, guys, we're gonna have to go back to long division. Okay, so dividing decimal fraction or division of decimal fractions, however way you put it. We're almost done with the lessons. Thank you for bearing with me for now. Okay, so how are we going to divide decimal fractions? Let's start now with example number 8. Let's say you have 12,3 and we are dividing by 0,3. How are we going to do that? Okay, so firstly, I think when it comes to dividing decimal fractions, it is advisable to go over to common fractions. So you're going to convert your decimal fraction to a common fraction. I'll show you another way of dividing the fractions as they are. Okay, we can do that, but long division is going to be part of that solution. I don't think we can run away from it. Really, I've tried to look at other methods where we wouldn't have to use long division, because I know for some people it's a trauma. But hey, what can we do? So if you have 12,3 and I'm trying to write it as a common fraction, if I take it one space to the right, I'm going to have 123 over 10. Okay, and I'm basically dividing by, we're going to go one space there, so it's going to be 3 over 10. Now remember how we deal with division of common fractions. What we do, we have 123 divided by 10. We're going to multiply, right? And when we multiply, we're going to swap these two numbers. You're going to have 10 over 3. So ultimately, let's write it all under one big fraction. When you multiply common fractions, we're going to multiply these two together, okay? So it's basically going to be 123 multiplied by 10, and then you're going to have 10 multiplied by 3. Here I'm going to simplify. I can see I have 10 here and I have 10 there, okay, which makes things a little bit easy for me. Now I'm left with 123 divided by 3. Now when I said we can't run away from common or from long division, I meant this. When you have 123 divided by 3, I'm really tempted to write it in a manner like this so that I can perform the long division. You see, you can't really get rid of that. So basically, what are we going to do? We're going to take the 12 and divide it by 3. We're going to get 4. 4 multiplied by 3 is 12. And we're going to bring down this 3. So 12 minus 12, that's just 0. All right, and 3, we take it down, that's just 3. You don't really have to put the 0 there, but yeah. So now what is 3 divided by 3? That is basically 1, and 1 times 3 is 3. So if we subtract, we are left with 0 and we are done. Okay, so basically 123 divided by 3, that is just simply 41. And that's your answer. 12,3 divided by 0,3 is 41. If you're going to do a sanity check here, listen, if you're going to take a number and divide it by 0, comma something, that number is going to increase because you're taking a big number, dividing it by a very small number. So if you're going to take a big chocolate and divide it by like a very, very small number, you're going to see that, oh my goodness, I have a lot of pieces over here. Hence, I'm saying you take a big number, you divide it by a very small number, you're going to get a big number. Okay, so that's how you divide decimal fractions. So what if, maybe let's try another way. So if I have again 12,3 divided by 0,3, I could have written it from the get-go like this. Oh, not a square root. This is a division. So I could have said 12,3 divided by 0,3. Now, I don't like working with numbers like this. So what we're going to do, we're going to shift the decimal comma to the right. Okay? If we shift it to the right, we're basically going to have 3. And then we're going to have, oh, I love the square root. And then I'm also going to, if I shift it outside of this division sign, I'm going to have to shift it inside as well. So if I'm shifting on the outside, this decimal comma to here, which is 3,0, which is just 3, I'm also going to have to shift it this side as well. Okay, so now I'm going to have 123, and we're back to square one. We're basically, we're going to have 41. Okay, so I don't know which one. We're basically, yeah, we did it. We did the hard work here already. So hence I'm just writing the answer as it is. Okay, another way that you could have done it, which I feel like is still the same way. So we can say we have 12,3 divided by 0,3. I could have written it as a common fraction, okay, which is 123 divided by 10. And I could basically do the inverse. The inverse of 0,3 is going to be 10 over 3 if I use the multiplication sign, which is really the same as what we did here. We simply took 0,3, wrote it as a common fraction, which is 3 over 10, and then we multiplied by 10 over 3. This one is just simply speeding up the process when you can recognize that 0,3 can be written as 10 over 3, but now we do the inverse, okay? And we land up in the same area or same place, which is 123 divided by 3, because the 10s are going to cancel out, and you're left with 123 divided by 3, which is simply 41. So I really feel like we're doing the same thing over and over again. But yeah, that's basically that. Okay, so let's go to B, right? Let's say we have 12,5 divided by 0,05. Okay, so here, again, it's up to you. Are you going to say 12,5 and we have our division sign in 0,05, and you're like, oh, I want to move 2 places to the right so that I have 5 there, and what I do outside I must do inside, so also I'm going to move 2 places there, so I'm going to have 1,250. It's really up to you. You can do that. All right, so then you're going to say 12 divided by 5 is 2. 2 times 5 is 10. And then you're going to subtract. So 12 minus 10 is simply 2. And then we take the 5 down. 25 divided by 5. That's going to be 5. And 5 times 5 is 25. And there we go. That's just 0. And you're going to bring down this 0. So we have 0 over there. 0 divided by 5 is basically 0. Okay, so then we see that 12,5 divided by 0,05 is actually 250. Okay, so you could have done it like that, or from the get-go you could have just said, I want to rewrite 12,5 as a common fraction So I'm moving one decimal that side. So it's going to be 125 divided by 10. And then we're dividing by 0,05. So I'm moving 1, 2. So it's going to be 5 over 100 because now we move 2 places. So after 1, we have 2 zeros. And then when we divide common fractions, remember what we said, we can multiply it by the inverse, which is 100 over 5. Okay, and then you're going to just put it over one big fraction. Okay, so you have 125 multiplied by 100, which is like 10 times 10. And then we have 10 multiplied by 5. So then what do? We're just going to cancel out these two 10s. And then we can actually cancel this 10 divided by 5. We're going to be left with 2. And then this 5 can come out. And then what's 125 multiplied by 2? That would be 250. Okay, I hope I did not confuse you by doing that. But that's basically how we would handle this. All right. So yeah. Or I mean, at this point, if you were saying, like I said, this is maths. There are many ways of skinning a cat. You could have said 125 multiplied by 100 is going to be 12,500, right? And then we're dividing by what? By 50. Whew, now I had to do long division. I actually prefer it if it's just, rather say 125 multiplied by 10 over 5. Okay, but yeah, which is going to bring us back here, which will be 1,250 divided by 5. So guys, yeah, they're basically doing the same thing. But let's try out another example. All right, so basically we have 1,445 divided by 0,17. Okay, so what are we going to do there? Again, I think I prefer rewriting it as a common fraction. So if I want to take this decimal that way, I'm going to move 3 units. So 1,445 divided by 1 with 3 zeros, which was 1,000. And we're dividing by 17 over 1, 2. So it's going to be over 100. So basically, where do we land? So we have 1,445 divided by 1,000, and we're going to multiply it by 100 over 17. Okay, so once we get there, what we're going to do is say 1,445 multiplied by 100 divided by 1,000 multiplied by 17. Probably can take out, did I write there 1,000? Probably say 100 there, right? So basically 100, and I can take out 100. I'll be left with 10, no? So basically I have 1,445 divided by 170. So here we're probably going to need some long division. Okay. Whew, that is, it sounds so exhausting. Okay, I think I'm going to take one decimal out. What do I mean by that? So currently the decimals are here, né? I'm going to move it this way. Okay, so it's here, I'm going to move it that way. So I'm going to have 144,5 divided by 17. I think that's better to digest. All right, so now again, like I said, we can't really escape this long division, unfortunately. So here we have 144,5 divided by 17. Now I need to figure out how many times can 17 get into 144. So I'm gonna guess it can't be 10 times because that would be 170. Let me see, if I multiply 17 times 9, I just want to check. Okay, 7 times 9 is 63. 1 times 9 is 9 plus 6, that's 15. So that's bigger than 144, so that's not going to work. So maybe let me try 8. If I multiply 17 plus 8, so I'm doing a trial and error here. Okay, so if I multiply 17 times 8, what is 7 times 8? That is basically 56. 1 times 8 is 8, plus 3 it is, plus 1 times 8 is 8, plus 5 it's 13. So basically we're going to have 136. So I can then divide 144 by 17. It'll get in 8 times. Okay, so 8 times 17, that'll be 136. Let me just move this a bit to the left, or the right rather. Okay, so if I subtract the two, 144 minus 136, so I'm going to have to borrow 14 minus 6 is 8. I'm left with 13 over here, so 3 minus 3 is, 13 minus 13 is just 0. Then I have to take down this 5, so I'm going to be left with 8,5. Now 8,5 divided by 17, it will go in, it's actually, 8,5 is actually half of 17. So 8,5 divided by 17 is going to be 0,5. So I'm going to put that there. And then I'm going to say 0,5 multiplied by 17. Again, that's 8,5, so that's 0. So basically, 144,5 divided by 17 is basically 8,5. I really hope I did not confuse you there. I really hope. But yeah, basically if you're gonna turn this 1,445 into a common fraction, it'll be 1,445 over 1,000. If you from the get-go wanted to use long division, so you would then say 1,445 divided by 0,17. And like I said, we don't really like working with decimals over here to that extent, so you basically want to move this common this decimal fraction, you want to move it to the right 2 places. So if you do that, you're going to have 17, and what you do outside of the division, you're going to have to do inside, so moving it twice. Okay, so basically you're going to have 144,5. so basically back to where we were over here. And we know in this case what our answer will be, which will basically be 8,5. That's our answer. So that's how we deal with division. Shall we do another example? Let's do another one. And then we call it a day. So let's say we have 1,5 divided by 0,003. Okay. Let's try the long division route from the get-go. So then we can say we have 1,5 divided by 0,003. I don't like that 0,003, so I'm going to move it 1, 2, 3. Okay, so then I have 3 there. And what I do outside, I have to do inside. So 1, let me just put some zeros there. So I'm going to move it 1, 2, 3. So basically I have 1,500. So I think the sum becomes a bit easier there. All right, what is 1,500 divided by 3? It's going to be 500, né? But anyway, let's just see. 15 divided by 3, that's 5. Okay, there we have it. 5 times 3 is 15. And we subtract it, it's going to be 0 there. And you're going to bring down all those zeros. Okay, so 0 divided by, okay, we're going to bring down the 0. 0 divided by 3 is 0. Okay, multiplied by 0, that's just 0. And then we're going to bring down that 0. So 0 divided by 3 is 0. So there we have it. 1,500 divided by 3 is basically going to be 500. That's your answer. Ne? So 1,5 divided by 0,003. Okay. Or you could have started off by turning it into common fractions. So 1,5, I'm moving 1 unit there. It's going to be 15 over 10. And I'm dividing by 1, 2, 3. So it's going to be 3 over 1,000, right? So we have 15 over 10 multiplied by 1,000 over 3. Okay, so what I'm going to do there is going to say 15 multiplied by 10 times 10 times 10. That is 1,000, and I have 10 multiplied by 3. So then this 10 cancels with that 10. I can actually write 15 with its prime factors, which is 3 times 5. So I can cancel out the 3's, and I'm left with 5 times 10 times 10, which is 500. So there we go. And that's the third and fourth and final example. I really hope after this session you are able to deal with these decimal fractions. You can add them, you can subtract them, you can multiply them, you can divide them, you can round off to whatever decimal place they want you to round off to. Okay, but that's basically it. Thank you and bye.